Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Occult Think Tank. My name is Greg. In today's program, I am going to talk about why I don't usually engage with Christians on things like Facebook. The reason I had gotten involved in this post because I recognized immediately from the first verse in that what it was talking about. And what got my attention with it and got me to where I was deciding, all right, I'm going to get and respond to this, was where this person had said about what you are reading from is an apocryphal book. Seriously? They want to try and act as if Ecclesiastes is an apocryphal book. This shows me a Christian that not only has not read their Bible, they don't even look at it before they run their mouth and show everyone how little they understand the book that they're trying to claim that they believe in. To try it, there are books that are in what are called the Apocrypha. As you guys can see, I removed the other versions that I had downloaded because reading from that was unreadable, really, with the way things were spelled or misspelled. But this idea of Ecclesiastes 12:7, yes, that is what they were quoting, and they quoted essentially the whole thing. The problem, and what I had pointed out, was where they had said about the fear God, and I will show you guys because it's part of what I do. Christians want to make an issue and try to act as if fear means respect. It does say morally to revere, but causatively to frighten. Affright, be, make afraid, dread. The idea that it is a revere, I think, is really ignoring the majority of how it is defined. And that is what the religious try to do. But when what I had pointed out with the idea of keep his commandments is the whole duty of man, that actually, and I had mentioned this to one woman, goes back to Ezekiel 18:20 and 21, which I've showed you guys in other verses, or in other videos, that Christians will only read the first 7 words and then they stop. These same Christians want to try and act as if nobody should listen to me. Yeah, because I'm pointing out things from their Bible that they don't want to see. They don't want you guys or anyone to be able to see things shown to you from this stupid fucking book. They want to try and act as if this stupid fucking book is real, but they don't want anyone like me coming along and pointing out the massive flaws in not just this book, but in their doctrine. But this one woman wasn't really what... There were many things that I had said to her in this, and it's something that I make no bones about. That being, the first comment I had was to this woman: your ignorance regarding Ecclesiastes 12 is something I find highly comical. And to the woman under her, I had pointed out that the issue was in obeying the law and keeping the commandments is all that the Bible God says anyone has to do. And I referred to Ezekiel 18:20 and said, don't just read the first 7 words. This is what I do when talking with people, but this one is a friend of mine, and I find it interesting that she even said, calm down, no hard feelings. I wasn't upset. The Christians probably were, because Christians get butthurt when anyone points out just how much they don't know with their own Bible. They want to try and act like they're so superior to me. The thing is, I don't buy their stupid bullshit. And the idea of the stupid crap that they have said, I really was done with this. But it was this guy that made a statement that I asked one question. What he had said is, we are made to reflect God. And I had asked, how do you reflect something that you can't even give evidence it even exists? To me, that would be proving something exists would be a necessary first step. Because until you prove something exists, a discussion about it is really irrelevant. Because things like what I'm doing with videos like this, conversations and so forth like this do exist. And that's part of what I'm about, is showing you what I'm dealing with. But this person went on to make comments that I think, it seems highly comical. First, he starts off, he is not something. Bear that in mind. He is not something. He is seen in everything. Then he is behind the forces of the universe, the origination of everything. And I had pointed out, you keep saying he, yet you claim he is not something. If he is not something, then he is nothing. And he is behind the forces of nature. My response is, prove this. Because this is what gets into the big problem with Christians. And that is this idea of the forces of nature. Christians love to try and go to the aspect of There it is. That this God is behind the forces of nature. My big thing with that is where and how can anyone prove that there is a he behind the forces of nature? What, gravity? Strong and weak nuclear force? Electromagnetic force? These forces are not anthropomorphic. And I do point out in my response to him that what he's doing is anthropomorphizing nature. That and yes, I did use the term of his God being imaginary. The thing is, I had mentioned and referenced a video I did on nothing versus absolute nothing. But below that is where I had said about your claims are also anthropomorphizing the universe, much like how ancient people anthropomorphized nature into God concepts. Anthropomorphizing is the attribution of human traits, emotions, or intentions to non-human entities. You can't reflect imaginary crap you simply make up. That is my point. And below that, I had pointed out, if you want to go by the Bible, then you need to be aware of Numbers 23:19. God is not a man, neither son of man. But if you support the God of the Bible, then you are also supporting something that supported and advocated for slavery. And that is something that I don't usually harp on the slavery aspect of the Bible, but it is something that, given the person that I am talking to in this, you can't really see it very well, but he's a black man. And the aspect of the Bible God not only endorsing slavery, but telling people where to buy their slaves from, and how you can essentially trick someone into being your slave forever. Yeah, things like that I will point out, because it is something that people really need to be aware of if they're going to, because it reminds me of another person I had come across that had said about the idea of, if there is something after death, about we have to earn some kind of grace or whatnot. And to which I am, number one, why would I waste my time trying to earn grace to something that, number one, I don't even know if it exists, and number two, the being or whatever you would be wanting grace from, you don't know here and now what it's like. It could be a Hitler for all you know. And that is something that not only do you have to define things like spiritual, but if you want to try and advocate for a God, to try and tell me that I don't have the right, or that I can't morally evaluate the nature of what you're trying to sell. Bullshit, I can't. Anyone that wants me to go along with or support their agenda, I need to, number one, know who they are and what their agenda actually is. Then, two, I need to know what the person is really advocating for. What's their philosophy? What is their position with things? Because I'm not just going to blindly support or endorse someone or a philosophy that, number one, that I haven't examined, and number two, that I may not morally and ethically agree with, because it is something that I wouldn't, like, going back to this person's idea of that we're made to reflect God. How do we reflect something that is not something? You get, not even a mirror can reflect something that is not something. If what you are trying to claim, you are turning around and saying, he is not something, well, then you can't call it a he, because he is a gender, and if it's not something, then it's nothing. And that, to me, he is seen in everything. Only if you have God goggles on and you're wanting to look at everything through God goggles. Take the God goggles off and look at the world, look at everything without the God goggles. It's just like how Christians are regarding Jesus in the Old Testament. They see him everywhere because they have their Jesus goggles on. They don't really look at what is actually there. But this whole, it really does come down to anthropomorphizing nature. And it is something that I see it as, these ideas are really pointless. Because the other thing that I had come across is, this is the other that could be factored into, could this be what people are like this are trying to talk about and advocate for? And that would be basically worshiping an alien race. I have a problem with the idea of people trying to worship an alien race or anything of that nature. It does seem to be, there is far more evidence for the existence of aliens than there is the existence of any God. I can point to not only multiple reports that have been done in extremely recent times, but also to evidence from witnesses of people that would still be alive today that have seen or had contact with a potential alien race. The thing is, there is far more evidence for the existence of aliens. But to try and make an alien race out to be the God thing that you're talking about, I really don't see where that is a valid correlation. But even if you would take and do this like a Galactic Federation of Light, whatever the hell that would be, I could not say right now if I would go along with whatever race that would be. It doesn't matter to me that that looks humanoid or human in nature. It would come down to what is the philosophy of. And that's where I would not only need proof that that race exists, but I would also want to sit down and have a conversation with it. And even doing it in a video where, and that I would want to have that both whatever they are and I am would be on camera, so you guys could not only hear the conversation but see who I am talking to. It would be something that would, to me, that would be a necessary first step before saying whether or not I would go along with what they're selling or interest in pushing. I would first need to have a conversation with them and find out about them. Because this idea that Christians have of going along with something just because it is whatever fits your God type of idea, I see that as dangerous, because people are not actually thinking. I don't think most people actually understand what critical thinking is really all about. They want to just blindly go along with whatever feels good or whatever sounds good. To use terms that I heard back when I was a Christian, they want to go by, they have itchy ears. They want to gravitate to things that tickle their ear, that sound good. They don't actually want to examine if what they are going along with is moral, ethical, or logical. All they go by is, oh, it makes me feel good. People that went along with Hitler could have been going along with, well, what he's saying makes me feel good. What he was saying may make you feel good, depending on if you were one that he was going to be torturing. But your feeling good about something does not make it moral, does not make it good, does not make it right. Frankly, I don't give a damn if something makes you feel good. I care, is it true? That's number one. Is something true? Beyond that, is it moral? Is it ethical? Those things must factor in. Because even if a God would exist, existence doesn't mean I'm going to blindly go along with you. We can prove Hitler, Stalin, Pol Pot, so forth, existed. That doesn't mean that I would go along with what they were doing. And for any Christian to act like they would automatically go along with a God, then you're saying you're going to go along with something and know nothing about its character. Because the idea that God can do what God wants because God is a might makes right philosophy. And that, I would contend, is only the type of philosophy that a tyrant would want to employ. But feel free to leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. Talk to you later, people.